Have you ever wondered about the most haunted house in Britain? Well, Borley Rectory is considered just that, with its reports of unknown noises, poltergeist activity, and a phantom nun among its hauntings. Hi, I'm Mike, and let me take you through the history and hauntings of Borley Rectory. Now, if you're sitting comfortably, let's begin.
Chapter 1. History and Hauntings.
Borley Rectory was built in 1862 for the purpose of housing the cleric or vicar of Borley in Essex. The house was built close to the local church by Reverend Henry Bull, who moved into the rectory shortly after its completion. The house actually replaced an earlier rectory that was on the land and had been destroyed in a fire in 1841. The rectory went through a number of changes and additions to accommodate Bull and his 14 children. Local legend states that a monastery was built on the land many years earlier in 1362, and that a monk at the monastery entered a relationship with a nun from the local convent. After their affair was discovered, the monk was executed, and the nun was entombed alive as she was bricked up inside the convent walls. This story, however, may have been made up by one of Bull's children, as there is no historical evidence to back it up. The first instances of paranormal activity started soon after Bull moved into the rectory. Locals to the rectory remember hearing unexplained footsteps coming from inside the house. The house lay dormant for a number of years, before the activity returned in the year 1900, with 4 of Bull's daughters claiming they saw a ghost of a nun during sundown. As the girls approached the nun and tried to talk to her, she disappeared into thin air. More apparitions were seen around the rectory by various eyewitness accounts over the next 40 years, including a phantom coach with 2 headless horses. Reverend Bull died in 1892, and Borley Rectory remained dormant until 1928, when a new Reverend Guy Smith moved into the rectory with his wife. Soon after moving in, Smith's wife came across a brown paper bag in one of the cupboards. Upon closer inspection, the bag contained a skull of a young woman. This is where the paranormal activity really started to take form, with servant bells ringing despite being disconnected, and the unexplained sounds of footsteps moving around the house. Smith's wife also claimed that she saw a phantom horse-drawn carriage outside of the rectory. The Smiths had had enough and contacted the British newspaper The Daily Mirror, who put them in touch with the Society for Psychical Research, SPR for short. In 1929, the newspaper sent a reporter to investigate, who promptly wrote the first in a series of articles about the hauntings in Borley Rectory. The paper also arranged for famed paranormal researcher Harry Price to conduct an investigation on the property.
Chapter 2. The Activity Intensifies.
As Harry Price began his investigation, new activity started to manifest, such as stones being thrown around the house, and in one instance a vase. Spirit messages were also tapped out on the frame of a mirror. These phenomena seemed to leave with Price, causing Smith's wife to suspect that it was Price himself of faking the activity. The Smiths later left the rectory in 1929. The rectory lay dormant until 1930, when Reverend Lionel Foister and his wife Marianne moved in, with their adopted daughter Adelaide. Foister witnessed some of the same activity that had previously been experienced in Borley Rectory, such as bell ringing, the throwing of stones, and windows shattering. Foister kept notes and sent these on to Price. Marianne also claimed to experience poltergeist activity, such as being thrown from her bed and wall writings. On one occasion, Adelaide was locked into a room with no key and was attacked by something horrible. Foister conducted 2 exorcisms on the property to no avail. He was even interrupted during the first exorcism by stones being thrown at him by an unseen force. The publicity of the haunting attracted through the Daily Mirror led several paranormal investigators to conduct their own investigations at Borley Rectory. All seemed to unanimously suspect that the cause of the poltergeist activity, consciously or subconsciously, was Marianne. Marianne maintained that the activity was genuine, until later admitting that she was having an affair with a lodger and used the paranormal activity as a cover-up.
Chapter 3. Harry Price's Investigation.
The Foyster family departed Borley in 1935. Once again, the rectory lay dormant until 1937, when Harry Price took out a year's lease on the property. Price also recruited 48 official observers, mostly students, to spend time in the property and report any activity they witnessed. In 1938, a séance was conducted in Streatham, London. Price reported that contact was made with two spirits, the first of which was that of a young nun called Marie Lair. According to the séance, Marie was a French nun who left her religious order and travelled to England to marry. She was said to have been murdered in an older building that stood on the grounds of Borley Rectory, her body either being buried in the cellar or thrown into a disused well. The wall writings were alleged to be her cries for help, with one of them reading,
"Marianne, please help me get out."
The second spirit contacted during the séance identified itself as Sunex Amures, who claimed that he would set fire to Borley Rectory that night, the 27th of March 1938, which would reveal the bones of a murdered person.
Chapter 4. The End of Borley Rectory.
On the 27th of February 1939, the new owner of Borley Rectory, W.H. Grayson, knocked over an oil lamp while unpacking boxes. Fire spread quickly and the house was severely damaged in the blaze. A neighbour claims to have seen a ghostly nun in the upstairs window while the rectory burned. Borley Rectory was beyond repair, and in 1943 Price conducted a brief dig in the cellars of the ruined house, discovering two bones thought to be that of a young woman.
Chapter 5. Aftermath and Accusations.
Following Price's death in 1948, a number of accusations of fakery began to surface. One Charles Sutton claimed that after being struck in the head by a large pebble at Borley, he seized Harry Price and found his coat pockets filled with stones of different sizes. The SPR also conducted a report into the haunting, determining that many of the phenomena were either faked or due to natural causes such as rats or the acoustics of the house. Marianne Foster later admitted she had never seen any apparitions, and that any ghostly noises were caused by the wind or her and her friends playing practical jokes on her husband.
Chapter 6. Final Thoughts.
And that's the story of Borley Rectory. Like most hauntings, they seem very compelling, but there's always some level of fraud associated with them, which kind of sours the taste in my mouth and throws a lot of what could be paranormal activity out of the window. Harry Price himself has a scattered reputation where he's kind of half paranormal legend and half believed fraudster. As with all hauntings, it's impossible to say what happened without actually being there at the time. And sadly, with Borley Rectory no longer with us, there's no chance for anyone to actually investigate it and try and corroborate any of the claims made by Harry Price or any of the residents that stayed there. And unfortunately, due to that, we'll never truly know what happened. But I'd like to know what you think. Comment below and watch this video next. Bye.